A Refugee Guide. Chapter 1. What is a refugee? A definition of refugee. Refugees are generally groups of people running from a war zone or a disaster zone like the site of an earthquake, volcano, flooding, etc. They go to refugee camps near the disaster area. People from the United Nations and some immigration officers from some countries set up offices to help these refugees immigrate to another country. Once they're approved, the government and NGOs move these people to the new country with the paperwork in hand already. A refugee at unhcr.org/about-unhcr/who-we-protect/refugees. Refugees are people who have fled their countries to escape conflict, violence, or persecution and have sought safety in another country. They are unable to return to their own country because of feared persecution as a result of who they are, what they believe in or say, or because of armed conflict, violence, or serious public disorder. Many have been forced to flee with little more than the clothes on their back, leaving behind their homes, possessions, jobs, and loved ones. They may have suffered human rights violations, been injured in their flight, or seen family members or friends killed or attacked. Who is a refugee is defined in international law. The 1951 Refugee Convention defines a refugee as a person who, owing to well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group or political opinion, is outside the country of their nationality and is unable or, owing to such fear, is unwilling to avail themselves of the protection of that country. Regional legal instruments in Africa and the Americas have broadened this definition by including people who are compelled to leave their country because of external aggression, occupation, foreign domination, internal conflicts, massive violation of human rights or events seriously disturbing public order. The 1951 Refugee Convention and its 1967 Protocol are the key legal documents that protect refugees. They provide the universal definition of who is a refugee and outline the minimum standards for their treatment. The cornerstone is the principle of non-refoulement, Article 33, which states that refugees have a right not to be sent back to their country of origin if their life or freedom would be at risk. Countries that have signed the convention are obliged to treat refugees according to the standards outlined. UNRWA promotes states' accession to the convention and helps governments translate it into national laws. People will usually go through a process known as refugee status determination to establish whether their circumstances make them a refugee. This is usually done by host countries, or by UNRWA when support is needed. When vast numbers of people are forced to flee at once, everyone fleeing that country may be granted refugee status on a prima facie basis so that cases do not need to be examined individually. A refugee is someone who has been forced to flee conflict or persecution and has crossed an international border to seek safety. They cannot return to their country without risking their life or freedoms. It is a legal term that carries with it certain protections that refugees are entitled to. The term migrant does not have an international legal definition. However, it is commonly understood to refer to someone who has chosen to leave their home to start a new life in another country. A migrant can return home without risking their life or freedom. The movement is understood to be voluntary. People who are likely to be asylum seekers or refugees should not be referred to as migrants. To do so can undermine the legal protections afforded to refugees under international law. The refugee at uscis.gov/humanitarian/refugees-and-asylum/refugees. Under United States law, a refugee is someone who is located outside of the United States, is of special humanitarian concern to the United States, demonstrates that they were persecuted or fear persecution due to race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group, is not firmly resettled in another country, is admissible to the United States. A refugee does not include anyone who ordered, incited, assisted, or otherwise participated in the persecution of any person on account of race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. For the legal definition of refugee, see Section 101, A, 42, of the Immigration and Nationality Act, INA. Chapter 2. The Refugee Controversy. The idea of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights assumes a free world where you can go wherever you want. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is at un.org/overview/rights.html. It was created on December 10, 1948. I think it fails because it doesn't account for me in my homeland. I want to live here in a relaxed atmosphere without foreigners and strangers coming around here to share the space with me and impose their cultures on my lifestyle, but we're way past that in Canada. Immigration has changed the landscape from a peaceful homogeneous population to a multicultural society with no traditional values left. Everybody is out for themselves. Everybody is politically correct because they're afraid of saying what they feel, which is that we had a great country once. Now we got a selfish crap hole because there is no one great common culture. Here are some articles from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Article 3. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. Article 14. 1. Everyone has the right to seek and to enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution. 2. This right may not be invoked in the case of prosecutions genuinely arising from non-political crimes or from acts contrary to the purposes and principles of the United Nations. Article 15. 1. Everyone has the right to a nationality. 2. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his nationality nor denied the right to change his nationality. So many so-called refugees have flooded into the modern nations that they've taken jobs away from locals, caused a shortage of housing, flooded our schools and hospitals, etc. Many don't want to integrate to our modern way of life. They insist on wearing their third world clothes, which look kind of scary if you are walking around in public all covered up, especially on a hot day. People have said that refugee programs are a scam because they don't bring real refugees in. The people administering the programs bring in their friends, people with money, criminals, and other undesirables from foreign nations pretending they're refugees, paying somebody off to get the immigration documents. Certain organizations make money from the government for helping refugees settle into the new country. They make money off refugees while many of the locals feel that their once beautiful countries are being destroyed by an influx of strangers. The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, an historical work by Edward Gibbon, published in 6 volumes between 1776 and 1788, states immigration and multiculturalism as 2 keys to the fall of Rome. Abraham Lincoln said a house divided against itself cannot stand. You can't have 100 different cultures and a sense of peace where everybody is walking around happy, loving and calm. You need one standard culture, a common ground. I grew up in that culture. It's gone now, replaced by no culture, a fear of being politically incorrect if you speak out against any minority, culture, or lifestyle. I don't understand having refugees when we already have plenty of poor and homeless people here. If they don't want to integrate into our culture, they don't belong here, but it's too late for that. Refugees have invaded some places to the point where they've taken over. Christians invited Muslims to come live with them in Lebanon until enough came for them to say, let's kill these Christians and take this country for ourselves. Look at the major Western cities where refugees and illegal aliens have flooded to. You can go on youtube.com, type the name of a city in followed by words like homeless, refugees, illegal aliens and watch the videos. It looks bad. I saw a video of some park in Paris populated by Africans in tents, complete with all their stuff and garbage. Where do they go to use the bathroom day after day? That's how you destroy great civilizations. It's simple. There are way too many people for the resources. If economic development lowers my quality of life by virtue of more people here, it's bad. What's the sense of building new houses and strip malls with no qualitative increase in the quality of life? We're screwed unless somebody in charge can figure out that we have to stop the population explosion. People can't seem to understand. Stop building. Enjoy life now. The lower the population, the better quality of life. Chapter 3. Refugee websites. Refugee websites 1. bracusa.org. Bangladesh. refugee-action.org.uk, refugeecouncil.org.au, Refugee Council of Australia, refugees.org, U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, refugeesathome.org, Refugees at Home, a UK charity, refugeesmigrants.un.org, Refugees and Migrants, refugepoint.org, RefugePoint, Creating Lasting Solutions for Refugees, rescue.org, International Rescue Committee, IRC, settlenews.org, therefugeeproject.org, The Refugee Project, UNRWA.org, UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, unrefugees.org, refugeesinternational.org, Refugees International, USA.gov, Agency's Office of Refugee Resettlement, Office of Refugee Resettlement, or rmtac.org, Refugee and Migrant Technical Assistance Center, RMTAC, worldvision.ca, Help Children in Poverty, refugee websites too, accord.org.za, South Africa, unrwa.org, Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, unhcr.ch, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, refugeesinternational.org, Refugees International, refugees-international.org/what-we-do/protection-and-security, protection and cityofsanctuary.org, City of Sanctuary, UK-based group welcoming communities for refugees, lirs.org, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Services, beadil.org, Badil Recourse Center for Palestinian Residency and Refugees' Rights, unrwa.org, United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, UNRWA, en.wikipedia.org/wiki/refugee, refugeesinternational.org, Refugees International, reliefweb.int, refugeesmigrants.un.org, new, Refugees and Migrants, shamel.org, the Palestinian Refugee and Diaspora Center, Shamel, laji-net/arabic/default.asp ? Menu ID =8, Palestinian Refugees News Network in Lebanon, Refugee Websites 3, unrefugees.org, acf.hhs.gov/program/orr/hotline/asyle.htm, find resources if you have been granted asylum in the United States, uscis.gov, how to bring your family to the United States, migrationwatchhook.org, refugeecouncil.org.uk, Refugee Right websites at cali.org/en/society/issues/human_rights_and_liberties/refugee_rights, angelfire.com/nj/hgraph/hardreal.html, hard realities. Describes one individual's 3 frustrating and unsuccessful attempts to leave the United States and secure political asylum in Europe. drc.dk, Danish Refugee Council. Independent humanitarian organization whose aim is to protect refugees in the world and Denmark through relief work, documentation, counseling, integration, language schools, repatriation, and voluntary work. lrescate.org, Rescate Legal Services. Non-profit organization providing free legal representation and advice for the Central American community in Los Angeles. Eurasylum.org, Eurasylum. Company providing policy research, evaluation, and consulting services dedicated to issues of immigration control and asylum policy. fmreview.org, Forced Migration Review. Published 3 times a year in English, Spanish, and Arabic by the Refugee Studies Program, University of Oxford. FMR enables academics, practitioners, refugees, and IDPs to share information and experience. hrw.org. Human Rights Watch Report. mattias-morgenstern.de/topic_uk.html, religion and politics in conflict, the question of sanctuary. Since 1980, thousands fleeing oppression have sought protection from deportation in sanctuary though they lack residency permits. News.bbc.co.uk. NNIRR.org, National Network for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. Networking organization on immigrant and refugee issues in the United States. OPU.CZ, Organization for Aid to Refugees. Based in Prague, the Organization for Aid to Refugees, OPU, provides social counseling and legal counseling to asylum seekers and recognized refugees staying on the territory of the Czech Republic. Refugee.org.nz, New Zealand refugee law website, RefNZ. Site dedicated to New Zealand refugee law. Provides full text search in refugee status decisions, appeals, and high court decisions, statistics, etc. Refugees.org, U.S. Committee for Refugees. Defends the rights of refugees, asylum seekers, and displaced persons worldwide. worldlee.org/catalog/3061.html, World Legal Information Institute, Refugees and Asylum. Legal directory and search engine, legislation, case law, journals, law reform, by country and subject. Middle East refugee rights websites at kali.org/n/specific_conflict/middle_conflicts/human_rights/refugee_rights. bitterlemons.org/previous/BL3112001ed5.html, refugees and the right of return, bitterlemons.org. Articles from Palestinian and Israeli viewpoints, by Ghassan Khatib, Yossi Alfer, Sari Nusiaba, and Yossi Balin. TheGuardian.com, Jews in UK renounce right to live in Israel. Describing a statement by a prominent Jewish group, describing their position that it would be morally wrong for them to assert a right of return when Palestinian refugees are denied that right. Refugee websites at blogs.feedspot.com/refugee_blogs. refugeecouncil.org.uk/latest/news. diversifi-ed.com/explore. newsdeeply.com/refugees. refugee-action.org.uk/about/blog. refugeesearch.net. refugeesinternational.org/the-latest. refugeesinternationalj.wordpress.com. refugeewomen.co.uk/news/blog. refugepoint.org/rea sources/news-and-media. Refugee.blogspot.com. riserefugee.org/r-voices. rli.blogs.sas.ac.uk. scottishrefugeecouncil.org.uk. unhcr.org/news-and-stories. Ukraine refugee websites at blog.feedspot.com/Ukraine_refugees_blogs. Breitbart.com. globalnews.ca. Notes from Poland.com. pbs.org/newshour/economy. thejournal.ie. timesofisrael.com. yy.org. Chapter 4. Refugee Organizations. Refugee Organizations 1. Asylumworks.org. Asylum Works culturally appropriate services for asylum seekers. CHOOSE901.com. Memphis organizations centered around supporting immigrants. ExodusWorldService.org. Christian community to welcome and befriend refugees. HIAS.org. International Jewish humanitarian organization that stands for a world in which refugees find welcome, safety, and opportunity. IJRCenter.org. International Justice. RefugeesMigrants.un.org. List of approved NGOs and CSOs. Refugees and migrants. WorldRefugeeCare.org. World Refugee Care. WorldRelief.org. World Relief. worldrelief.org. World Relief. Refugee Organizations 2. Amnesty.org. Asylum Seekers and Migrants, Amnesty International. AsiaOhio.org. Akron Refugee Organization. AsylumAdvocacy.org. Asylum Seeker Advocacy Project, ASAP. GlobalRefuge.org. RefugeeCouncil.org.uk. Refugee Council. RefugeesInternational.org. Global Voices for Rights and Refuge, Refugees International. Rescue.org. International Rescue Committee, IRC. WHO.int. World Health Organization, WHO. UNICEF.org. UN Children's Emergency Fund. UNRWA.org. UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency. Refugee Organizations 3. rcusa.org/resources/state-by-state-refugee-resettlement, Refugee Council USA. Rescue.org. icmc.net. HIAS.org. Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service. LIRS.org. United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. USCCB.org. Episcopal Migration Ministries. episcopalmigrationministries.org. worldrelief.org. Lutheran Social Services of the Southwest. lss-sw.org. canopynwa.org. Canopy. secondfamiliessd.org, Second Families. Southern California. Santa Ana and Los Angeles. Taiya.org. Sahaba Initiative. San Bernardino. sahabainitiative.org. International Institute of Los Angeles. ToLosAngeles.org. Voice of Refugees Southern California. vorservices.org. acc-den.org, ACC. The Ethiopian Community Development Council. Denver. CWSSouthFlorida.org. Catholic Charities. ccbjax.org/refugee-resettlement. newamericanpathways.org. Refuge Coffee Co. Atlanta. RefugeCoffeeEcho.com. PacificGatewayCenter.org. Agency for New Americans Boise. AnnaIdaho.org. College of Southern Idaho Refugee Program Twin Falls. RefugeeCenter.csi.edu. Refugee One. RefugeeOne.org. The Ethiopian Community Association of Chicago. ECAChicago.org. worldrelief.org/refugees-immigrants-and-displaced-people. ExodusRefugee.org, donate, volunteer, and advocate. Kentucky Refugee Ministries. KYRM.org. The African Community Center. ACC-DC.org. UMA Project Minneapolis and Twin Cities. UMMAproject.org. The International Institute of Minnesota. IIMN.org/programs/refugee-services. Arrive Ministries is a Christian non-profit organization. ArriveMinistries.org. Delalam Community Services Kansas City. Delalam.org. Jewish Vocational Services Kansas City. jvskc.org/services/community-integration/RR. Refugee Empowerment Center. RefugeeEmpowerment.org. African Community Center, ACC. Las Vegas Metropolitan Area. acc-lv.org. Accentria Care Alliance. Accentariae.org, New Hampshire. Interfaith Refugee and Immigrant Services and Empowerment, Interfaith Rise. Central New Jersey. Interfaithrise.org. Church World Service Jersey City. cwsjerseycity.org. End Refugee Services, Inc. is a Christian community-based organization, New York. JazzBuffalo.org. Interfaith Works of Central New York. InterfaithWorksCNY.org. Columbus Community Refugee and Immigration Services, Chris. CRISOhio.org. CatholicCharitiesOregon.org. RefugeeCareCollective.org. Dorcas International Institute of Rhode Island. DIRI.org. EmpowerNashville.org. Bridge Refugee Services. BridgeRefugees.org. Races Texas. RacesTexas.org. RSDX.org. USCRI Vermont. Refugees.org/USCRI-Vermont. Washington, D.C. CatholicCharitySDC.org/get-help/r-services/immigrants and refugees. Immigrant Hope Wyoming Idaho.org. U.S. resettlement agencies at unhcr.org/us/what-we-do/United-States/u-s-resettlement-partners. unhcr.org/us. Facebook.com/unhcr. Twitter.com/refugees. YouTube.com/user/unhcr. Instagram.com/refugees. Pinterest.com/refugees. acf.hhs.gov/or/funded-programs-key-contacts, state health coordinators. USCIS.gov/portal/site/USCIS, United States Citizen and Immigration Services. rcusa.org, Refugee Council USA, RCUSA. Interaction.org, Interaction. Interaction is the largest alliance of U.S.-based international non-governmental organizations. coresourceexchange.org, Cultural Orientation Resource Exchange. churchworldservice.org, Church World Service, CWS. ecdcus.org, Ethiopian Community Development Council, ECDC. Bethany.org, Bethany Christian Services. worldrelief.org, World Relief Corporation, WR. episcopalchurch.org/m, Episcopal Migration Ministries, M. HIAS.org, Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, HIAS. IOM.int, International Organization for Migration, IOM. LIRS.org, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Services, LIRS. Refugees.org, U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, USCRI. Rescue.org, International Rescue Committee, IRC. USCCB.org, United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, USCIB. Refugee organizations with job boards at socialimpactguide.com. unhcr.org. United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. unrwa.org/careers/vacancies, United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East. iom.int/recruitment, International Organization for Migration. unicef.org/careers/internships, United Nations Children's Fund. SaveTheChildren.org. Save the Children. wfp.org/careers/job-openings. World Food Programme. icrc.org/en/who-we-r/jobs. The International Committee of the Red Cross. icmc.net/about-us/vacancies. International Catholic Migration Commission. icmc.heroportal.net/positions. rescue.csod.com/ats/careersite/search.aspx. International Rescue Committee. drc.ngo/about-drc/vacancies/current vacancies/vacancies per country. Danish Refugee Council. nrc.no/vacancies. Norwegian Refugee Council. care-internional.org/get-involved/work-for-us. Care. oxfam.org/en/work-oxfam. Oxfam. asylumaccess.org/join-us/employment. Asylum Access. refugepoint.org/about-us/career-internships. Refuge Point. refugeesinternational.org/join-r-team. Refugees International. refugeeigths.org/hope-help/careers. International Refugee Assistance Project. mercycorps.org/careers. Mercy Corps. recruiting.adp.com/srccar/public/rt.home?C=1161051 Catholic Relief Services. CRS. msf.org/work-msf. Médecins Sans Frontières. reliefweb.in/jobs. Relief Web,